All right, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Living the Dream podcast. Today on the show, we have Scott Feld, who is the owner of MindZenMotion, which is a set of life skill mindset programs for tweens and teens. Scott, how you doing?
Hey, I'm good. Thank you so much, Timmy. Thanks for having me. That was perfectly done. It's exactly what I do.
Awesome, love it, man, and love to have you on the show. We like to jump right in, so if you could start with talking a little bit more about yourself and what you like to do for fun, that'd be great.
Yeah. Okay. Certainly. Yeah. So 25 plus years living in San Diego, California. Dad of a 6-year-old boy, Dax. Actually, recently published a book about him. We'll get to that part later. Dax to the max. Here in San Diego, if you don't surf, you shouldn't live here. So I love to surf. That's why we pay the big money, so we can go like out with the dolphins and catch some waves and things like that. So surfing is probably my favorite thing to do when I'm not working. Yeah, so that's it. That's what's for fun for me.
Love it, love it. Surfing. I've never
Do you
surfed.
surf? No.
I'm in Austin,
Okay.
Texas, so
Yeah, no.
awesome. Well, tell us a little bit more about what you do and what Minds in Motion is.
Yeah, absolutely. So MindZenMotion, like you said, is for tweens and teens. I mostly work with the 10 to 12-year-old and then the 13 to 16-year-old sets. And I do what are called power parties and power quests. So I've worked with kids and teens for a really long time. I own a entertainment company here in San Diego called Extreme Fun. That company, very popular, lots of different types of parties. And it got hit hard, just the leg swooped from underneath it when the pandemic hit. No more parties. And though I have been a personal development, growth mindset, spiritual awakening, whatever you want to call it, junkie. And I have studied and studied, and I have led and taught, mostly volunteer oriented. And so this really created the opportunity for me to combine two things that I was not only really good at, but had a decent amount of knowledge in, and that was entertainment, mindset skills. This was a perfect time because kids were already very overwhelmed, very frustrated. Sometimes anxiety is how they would describe their experience of life. Their confidence was down. They just weren't sure like what was going on and where to go. So that was already happening. And then throw a pandemic on top of that and give them some masks and take them out of school and sports. And, these kids needed something to be able to navigate these waters. And so it was a great opportunity for me to combine the interactive entertainment with the mindset skills. And I created courses called The Keys to Unlocking Your Inner Superpower so you can become unmesswithable. And becoming unmesswithable is that you have a direction, you know where you're going, and outside forces don't have such an impact on you. When those circumstances and those conditions come your way, you actually have some tools, you have some superpowers to bust through them. They don't stop you, they don't send you back to the safe zone. So that's basically what I do with MindZenMotion. That's how it all became.
I love it. I am a huge fan of self-development, self-improvement, spiritual awakening, again, whatever you want to call it. Um, so I'm glad that you were bringing that to our teens and tweens, because that is a age group that is for sure less touched when it comes to the personal development side of things. And it's often left up to the schools, which don't always do the best job.
Yeah, I mean, they have to follow a curriculum and they have to, and it's a very antiquated one, not really their fault, just nothing's changed. The kid I was talking to today said, I'm not very good at math. And his confidence was so low because he just felt bad he wasn't good at this thing, even with a tutor. And I was like, dude, first of all, I don't think you're ever going to use math, to be honest, unless you're going to be, an engineer. That's number one. Number two is if you know that you're doing your best and you're trying and you're not just giving up, then don't let math be the thing that tells you if you're, a good person or if you should be confident or not. You just go experience math for what it is, a stepping stone, and a thing that you need to do. The power you have is how you are going to, how you're going to experience it. Not, letting it bring you down, but just do your best, go through it and move on. And you could see like him lighten up just when I said that. Like no one had ever said that to me before, which always confuses me in some way, because I'm like, it's so simple. Why wouldn't somebody just say that to him? But on the other side, nobody said it to me either when I was a teenager. Because like you said, it's not the schools, and nobody really, talks about that stuff. They're just like, do your math and get a good grade. And if you don't, do better more. Figure it out.
Do better. Yeah. No, exactly. That's just do better.
Yeah, just do better.
I love that. I love that you said that to him. And what gets me about that is when you're like 16, 15, 14, 13, that is like literally your whole world. Like you're bad at math, you're bad at basically your whole world. And it's so important. I was about to say to have somebody speak into your life as a kid, but it's always important to have somebody speak into your life, because we all get absorbed in things that we attach our identity to it too much. And it's
Absolutely. Yeah. To me, when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, the stuff that you had to deal with was basically at school or at your sport. But now it's 24/7. As we all know, they go to sleep wondering, what people are thinking about their Instagram posts or their TikTok videos. And they wake up hoping they didn't get bullied and that things went well. And if things went well, they feel good. And if things didn't go well, they feel bad. And the inner superpower idea is that you just can't live life on that roller coaster. You want to know why you're frustrated, overwhelmed, exhausted. It's because you never get off. And so if you're never going to get off, because I don't tell them you shouldn't go on social media, because I would lose that battle, right? They would lose all listening for me.
Yep.
Right there. So we have to tell them what social media is, how much it controls them, and just allow them to understand that at least they could have a choice to control it and control, again, their experience of it, just like math.
Yeah.
So that's their power.
Absolutely. I love it. So tell us a little bit more about these power parties and power quests. I like the naming quests specifically. So tell us about it.
Yeah, sure. So I knew that when I did this, that if I called them courses or I called them classes, this was going to sound a little bit too much like school. And no matter what was on the other side of it, as far as a result, and no matter how much they may want that result, even if they didn't know they wanted that result, they weren't going to do it. Not only that, their parents were probably not going to put them in it, because they would automatically put up that wall that goes, they have enough homework, they have enough study, they have enough this, they have enough that. So I had to make sure that I created something just from the outset that sounded inviting. So a power party is sort of like a 1 day, 2, 3, or 4 hour event. You show up, you get a power box. This is a power bar. I don't know. Are we on video? This is a power box. Yeah. Okay. So this is a power box. Inside of it are all these props and toys that we use in order to ingrain what we're teaching and showing them. And we have the music playing, the DJ music playing. You're out there playing these games. You're getting this training. You're having fun, but it's powerful fun. It's like play with a purpose type fun. So that's a power party. And a power quest is similar, except for instead of 1 day, it's weekly. So it's like an hour training call and an hour Q&A kind of chat call. So 2 calls per week, and you do it over a 6-week period of time. The reason I have that is because we can do it both live and online. So I just finished a power quest with a group of teenage girls in Australia, which would be impossible, obviously, 1, without technology, but 2, unless I created something where we could expand it around the world, English-speaking world.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I was going to say I like the power quest specifically because a lot of kids, including myself, I'm a very young guy.
Yeah.
Young adult, not quite a kid, but I played a lot of games growing up, and you would go on these quests in these games. But I really like your kind of approach of like life skill mindset for tweens and teens, calling it quests, because in my head, when I hear quest, I'm like, oh, I'm about to go on this like journey, this adventure to like towards a goal, towards something that I'm going to achieve at the end. But it's also like in a lot of these video games, it's something I've been talking with a lot of people about recently. There was a very like structured progression, if that makes sense. So like in one game, which was really popular called RuneScape, you would have skills that you skilled up, and those skills allowed you to do other things. And I was like, man, if you really looked at life like that, in terms of like skills that I have and activities I could do to improve these skills, it would really help you grow like
Yeah.
faster, because it would make things very clear very quickly, is something that I
Yeah.
noticed.
Well, it's not by accident, right, that I'm calling it power parties and power quests, and that you're getting keys to unlock your inner superpowers. These are all terms that I think are very relatable. I did a lot of research and study and asked a lot of questions to both parents, teens, and tweens to get to this. And who knows, it could be tweaked again. But these are words that seem to resonate and allow the kids to at least go give it a chance. And that's all we want, is allow them to get in there. And then afterwards I hear, wow, my confidence has gone way up. Wow, I see the world in a different way. I now have choice, which has given me freedom. So my anxiety has loosened up on me. And that's really important. And how you said, you kind of level up, you go from one place, you can use what you got in that to go to the next, go to the next. That's how I designed the Power Quest and the Power Party. The very first thing, the base of it, is that you learn all the things that you know. You talk about, what do you know? What do you know about like what you would like to do? And what do you know about what frustrates you? And then we talk about what you don't know about it. There's like that you can see, right? I don't know this and I don't know that. Like if you wanted to be a helicopter pilot, you could go, I don't know these, 10 things to be a helicopter pilot, but I could learn them and I could be a helicopter pilot. That's in the knowing, that's in your visual. But the real big picture that we tell them is there's this place called the blind spot, the invisible area that you don't know, you don't even know it. The only way that you start knowing that is when you start going on a journey towards something. And then things open up for you. You start seeing things, right? We can talk about walking on a trail, and you wouldn't be able to see like what was around the corner. It would be a blind spot to you until you got close enough to get around that corner, but you got to take those steps to get there, right?
Yep.
And I tell them inside of this that I have like a board and I have a nail. And my biggest goal in life is to get that nail into that board. But I've been tapping it with my finger for like so long, and my finger's hurting, and I really, really want to do it. So I'm not giving up, but all I've ever known is this is how you do it. And then somebody comes along and they show me this strange object and they call it a hammer. And they tell me that this is a better way to do it. And I'm like, how do you use it? And they can't do it for me, but they can show me. And then I try and I practice and I miss, and then I get it. And pretty soon I've been able to knock my nail in much faster, but I couldn't use the hammer because I never saw it.
Mm.
But if I wasn't tapping that thing, nobody would have come along, and I wouldn't have cared about a hammer if I didn't have that goal to head for. So then everything kind of leads back to that through the rest of the keys. You start seeing things you didn't see before, like the proper use of the imagination, a directed imagination, not a controlled imagination, directed, instead of just letting it fly out of control. And sometimes it's like, oh my God. And sometimes it's like, well, maybe I can do this,
Yeah.
You control that imagination. And inside of my power box, we use Play-Doh for that. And so I tell them, look, this is just Play-Doh, and you could think about what you want this to be. This could be anything. Think about it. And I don't want you to think about it like, do I know how to bake that? I want you to think about it from, I want to be. And then you start making something with your Play-Doh. And if you mess up, like that ear's not right on the cat that you're making or whatever, you don't quit. You don't go, I'm not making a cat ever again. You just, fix the ear. You just put it down. You go fix it until, you get a cat, and the cat gets better and better the more you keep working on it. Well, this is you. This is your life. This is how you can mold things for yourself. Same thing. And when you give them like Play-Doh and it's tactile and they can use it and it's fun and the music's playing, all of a sudden this thing where instead of me sitting in front of them and just going, okay, you got a directed imagination and you can mold your life, it makes way more sense and it's way more fun, because that's very teen tween age stuff, to use something like Play-Doh. So I have a bunch of toys like that to get the points across, make sure they get it.
Love it. Love it. There we go. Well, let's jump into your motivation now. What really gets you up and keeps you going every day?
Yeah, that's a great question. When you find your thing, you just do. And I think the most important thing, and it's part of what I teach, is you got to take time to really look at yourself and go, what do I love to do? Like, what are my favorite things, and how can I turn that into my life? And there was somebody who said, I can't remember, they said, if you find what you love, you do it better than anyone else, and you do it for lots of people, you're going to live a very fulfilling, wealthy life.
Yeah.
And then of course there's some people that go, wow, it's not about the money. Well, that's fine. Make a bunch of money and give it away then, because it'll help people, right?
Yeah.
Take that money and expand it so you can help more people, right? So it's weird when they get into that poverty pauper kind of mindset, like, all righteous above money, but there's an answer for it. That's good. Yeah. So, for me, it's a matter of knowing that there's more to do. And the more I do, the more I get, the more I give, right? Another mentor, this one was Mary Morrissey. She said, life is breathing in and breathing out. You can't just breathe in, you'll choke. You can't just breathe out, it'll be uncomfortable, which means you can't just take, you can't just give. Natural flow of life is just to give and take. Breathe in, breathe out. So I'm taking while I'm giving and taking while I'm giving, and I can see it growing. Right. And I can see more people using it. I can see more people understanding it, and I can see it making a difference. And all I know is that you can't unlearn it. So when these teens, tweens go through my different power parties, or they may not use it all the time. In fact, they won't. I don't use it all the time. Sometimes I wake up and, something happens, and I can hear that voice going, you know what to do here, but I get reactive and I do the opposite. And then, I clean it up and get things back in line, back on track. Well, the thing though is, unless I knew it, I wouldn't have a choice. I would just keep going down that other road, making things worse, getting more anxious, more excited, more frustrated, right? Letting it build up on me. Pretty soon I'm carrying that with me. Then I go to the next thing, I carry that with me. And I'm like, carrying 5 million pounds of frustration of the day's activities. And then I lay in bed, and all I do is I think about those things. So I send them into my subconscious while I'm sleeping. So I wake up with them and I start my day with them on me. Well, there's choice. And if you don't know that choice, then that feels like a very heavy life, and things can go really bad. That's where kids want to escape. I know you play video games, but you're here, and I think you played video games for the right reasons. But there are kids who play video games just to escape 4, 5, 6 hours, just to get away from their problems. I like to say, play video games as something fun that adds to your life, because you should have a fun, happy life. And if you love video games, play video games, as long as other things are in line for you too, and you're not just running away. Because video games turn into drugs and drinking and bad decisions, and we know where it all can go from there. So choice is really what I give them. Yeah. Opportunity to choose.
Yeah, I love that. The power of choice.
It's free.
Awesome. Well, let's go ahead and jump into your dreams and goals now. What is your vision for your company and the rest of your life?
Okay, great. So I have some good visions for my company, because I'm someone who believes visualizing, and sending that message to your subconscious is how you get things, and how you attract things. We have a particular activating system that allows us to attract things, see things in line with what we want. So if we don't know what we want, we're not picturing it, then we miss those things. We don't even see them, right? So for me, inside of MindZenMotion, the power quests, I want to, be able to do these all over the English speaking world at this point. And then at some point, who knows, I could share them with others who are bilingual, and they could bring them to other countries, because, everybody could use it. And the same with the power parties. The power parties, I want to grow into Quest Fest. Quest Fest would be one large, giant gathering of people, maybe here in San Diego or over in Australia, where there's speakers and breakout rooms and dancing and music and fun. Similar to, there's a guy, Vishen Lakhiani, who owns Mindvalley, and he does A Fest every year. A Fest is similar for adults, right? Just come and you party and you meet, you talk, but the talk is all about, supportive talk. It's what are you up to, and how can I support you, and you make great connections. Well, I want teens to be able to do the same thing. How great would it be if they could get out of their normal, like, am I being approved of, right? And get to, I'm being supported. Like, I have a community of people all over the world that support me, and I no longer am hoping my shoes are the right shoes this week, and they didn't change yesterday, and I missed, something on my Instagram that told me that, and then I go to school and I missed the approval of the day tough way to live. So I want to do that. So I want Quest Fest, power parties, power quests all over the world. Dax to the Max, which is my book, if I could share that. So this got published a few months ago. And it's an Amazon international bestseller, which is pretty cool. Not as cool as like a New York Times one, but who knows, maybe one day. And this is all about the power of imagination over fear. I told you Dax is my 6-year-old son. So I definitely want him to understand the power of his own mind, his own inner superpowers. And so this is the first in a series. So I look for a series. When I put this out on an app, a lady picked up on it who was a producer. And so now, never having done it before, over the last couple of months, I've written a pilot, I've written a season arc, and I've working on a pitch deck with them. So we would love to have Dax to the Max become like a PBS Kids type animated TV show, all about mindset and how to get past your fears using your imagination and things like that. So those are some of my goals.
I love it. I love it. So we got be able to do Power Quest all over the English-speaking world and eventually get it translated into multiple languages. Grow the Power Parties into Quest Fest, where it's a large gathering of people, teens and tweens, to move them from being validated by their peers to being supported by their peers. And then we got take Dax to the Max and really publish it as a show on PBS or something of that nature.
Yeah, exactly. Something of that nature. We're working on it. We're working with a production company. We signed a shopping agreement with them. They're legit. They know what they're doing. So that was not in my radar, but that's just one of those things that comes up because I was on the journey. If I hadn't written the book, that wouldn't have happened. So who knows what's next?
Yeah.
But that's the path I'm on. So those things, and they're all inside the same scope. It's all growth mindset. It's all life skills. It's all mindset training. It's just how to get it to each of the different age groups in the different mediums that I've created, the different ways I've created.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love that. Well, if there were 1 or 2 people that you can meet right now, and this could be a specific person or a type of person, and they'd really help you take the next step towards these dreams and goals, who would it be and how would they help you?
All right. Well, I mentioned Vishen earlier, and I don't know if you're familiar, but Mindvalley is kind of a hub for the biggest names in personal development, even meditation and spiritual, to go to, and they run their own courses through Mindvalley. And then Vishen has also written a couple of books. I think that what I'm doing is a similar model, pretty much accidentally, but it's a good model. He doesn't do power parties, I don't think. He doesn't do power quests, but he does courses and he does them for adults. But I think a connection with him would be incredible because he doesn't have the age group that I have. And if we combined, I could learn a lot from him. He might learn some things from me, and we could expand this, globally much faster than my own organic reach that I'm doing, although it seems to be doing pretty well. It's growing. It's just growing a little slower than, like that, like I think that would. So yeah, I would love to meet him. And then
And what was his name one more time?
his name is Vishen Lakhiani, and Mindvalley is his company. And then can I go back in time a little bit to someone who's no longer with us?
Go for it.
I mean, I would have loved to meet and hang out with Nevel Goddard. So Nevel, Nevel?
I have no idea who that is.
Okay, so Nevel Goddard is they call him somewhat of a mystic, spiritual person. And he really takes a lot of religious teachings and makes them really biteable, really easy to digest, and very usable, like in our modern world. And I listen to and read Nevel all the time, and Nevel really speaks to me because there's stuff that's out here that seems kind of like still kind of woo-woo, even where we are now. And where I live in San Diego, we're probably the least woo-woo out there, but still there is. Like, it was hard for them to get yoga in school districts. I mean, why? So because it has some kind of stigma attached to it. So he takes, for me, what would sometimes feel like this way out there, who only can speak to, the people living on the mountains, and he brings it right here to me, and I go, oh. So I really love Nevel Goddard. That's the best way I can explain him. He's deep. So Nevel and
Yeah, absolutely. There we go. Well, what are the most important one or two things that everyday people can do to really help you accomplish your dreams and goals?
Mm. Well, the first thing is, I think, simply that open mind. As I said before, most of us have not had this type of mindset training. It hasn't been available to us. So an open mind to understand that this is a helpful, maybe even sometimes life-saving, definitely life-transforming type of education. And parents, if you don't know it, it's not your fault. It's like you're not really supposed to be honest, unless you went outside the box like I did. And then for me, it wasn't just going outside the box, it was like living outside the box and seeing how far outside the box I could go and studying it every day, so that I now could bring forth this to kids and teens. But what you do is you get someone like me in my company as a coach, and we join the team, the family team, right? And so the thing that you don't know, which, if your kid wants to be an actor, singer, dancer, basketball player, at some level, you may or may not be that coach. And you can't, you're not supposed to be. You get to be the parents who get to support them. And I get to be the coach, and I get to help them with the mindset part, so that they can go on, and it just adds to everything else that they're doing. They want to be successful in these things. It's mindset, a lot of it, right? You can practice all you can practice, but if you have no confidence and you don't think you can do it, and you think others are better, and you're worried and you're overwhelmed and it doesn't feel good, it's not going to happen for you.
Yeah.
Right? If you keep looking like, oh, I'm not as good, when somebody else does a little bit better, it's not going to happen for you. And so I really want people to know that, this is just should be normal type stuff. So have an open mind to it, and, give it a try. Allow someone like me or me to come in and, help out and really help your kids and teens get to where they want to get to. And to me, my market really isn't necessarily kids who are like, down on the suicidal level, or, have been prescribed a lot of, medicines and stuff like that. I really do believe that might be more psychology, psychiatric type stuff when they're there. And I don't feel qualified, nor do I step in on that. I might have some good things to say, but they might need to get to a certain point before they can even hear me. My market is those kids who really want to do more. They would like to, but they feel stopped. They feel limited. They feel unsure. They don't know where or how to move. And doesn't it seem so silly that we could show them? Like, we could just tell them, well, here's what you do. Here's the things. Like, here's how you do a math problem. Here's how you write a sentence, right? Yep. Here's how you do it. And now you have something that's usable. So yeah, just that open mind to be able to give to the kids, so that they have the opportunity to have this. Why would we keep it from them?
There we go.
It's mean. Don't do it.
It is, yeah. Some might say we have a moral obligation to really work on ourselves, so we can give and give and give. And so, especially when we've already reached the point where we have learned a lot of stuff that our kids are wanting to learn, or we have access to it, it really is mean and immoral almost to not
Yeah,
give them.
So, I'm with you. I agree. Totally with you. So
awesome.
That's the mission.
Well, let's go ahead and jump into our Thriving 3 now. Our first question is, what is your favorite book, movie, or podcast? Pick one.
Okay. Let's go with favorite book, and Power of Awareness. I'm going back to Nevel. And Power of Awareness is so important, because everything really does come down to, what are you aware of? What are you aware of around you? And what are you aware of about yourself? And do you have a limited mindset where whatever you're aware of, that's it for you, and you have turned beliefs into truths? Or do you have an awareness of who you are in the world, the energy that you are, the person that you are, the I amness, and the ability to really do and accomplish whatever you set your mind to? As long as you set your mind to it, you get moving on it. So that's why I love the power of awareness, because I think everything comes back to that. What are you aware of about yourself and your surroundings? What do you think is true?
Yeah. Self-awareness is key. I agree.
Yeah.
And what is one way you like to take care of yourself?
Go surfing. Um, when you're out in nature with some waves, you're getting exercise. Seriously, you see dolphins sometimes. It'll do your heart good. So that I do like to eat well. I'm not a sugar person or anything like that. Not too many vices, thank goodness. I exercise. I think it's so important. So that's physically, but in the line of work that I'm in and what I believe, spiritually is just as important. So I make sure I meditate. I make sure I slow down the noise so that I can really focus on what I want. Even if I'm not focusing on what I want, I'm just quiet. And I think that's really a great way to take care of yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And what is one action step that you can take right now or continue to take if you're already doing it to really make that connection with Vishen from Mindvalley?
Ooh, that's a good question. Well, I should probably re-up my membership for one. I'll let that lapse. That's going to be the first question. So that would be one. But it's so important because I need to reach out to him. I need to share, and I need to take some of my own advice. Is sometimes things seem big because we've decided they're big. They may not be. And so we put obstacles in our way towards it, and we say, we'll get to that later, or when we get to a certain place in our business, or he wouldn't listen to me anyway. So I need to, this talking about awareness. I mean, just this conversation has made me aware, just thinking about it, that's basically what I've subconsciously done. I haven't really said those things, but that's really what I have done. Otherwise, I would have just reached out to him if those things weren't in the way.
Yeah.
So it's really just a matter of re-upping my membership. I'm not joking. I think that's very important. And then reaching out to him and just really sharing Dax to the Max and MindZenMotion with him. Yeah. And I have to continually do it. I don't think I'll get him on the first try, but I think I'll get him.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think he has tweens or teens?
He has 2 kids, and I think his daughter is nearing that tween age. I think she probably is closing in on 9 or 10 years old. So yeah, his son's a little younger.
There we go. Looks like it's getting all queued up for you.
Thank you. That's awesome. Thank you for saying that. I'm on it, man.
Nice. Well, awesome. We got one last question for you. I think you're going to be particularly equipped to answer this question. Okay. So you know how there are people on the planet who have that really fixed mindset. They're not willing to accept help. They're not willing to accept change. Sometimes they'll live their whole life like that, and sometimes they'll die like that, unfortunately. Other times they make the switch to more of that growth mindset, willing to accept help and willing to accept change. In your opinion, what is the catalyst that causes that switch?
Yeah. Well, the first one is a perfect description of my mom and my dad too, 80 something years old now. If you're watching, Mom and Dad, it's true. First ones to say it. I think that something has to rattle you enough. And, whatever that is different for each person, where you say, there's got to be something more, something different. I'm not willing to put up with or accept things the way that they are. I coach one lady, she's in her 60s. She had had many different emotional and physical traumas in her life. Her 4th one was getting laid off. And that was finally what we call, the straw that broke the camel's back in a way that had her go, I'm not going to live like this anymore, at like 60 years old. Sometimes it takes that long. Other times it's simply just hearing something and wanting to further kind of journey down that route. Maybe you did get a book, or maybe you heard something in your church, and you wanted to find out more about it, right? Maybe you watched this podcast and it's like something resonates. You're like, I really would like to have more confidence. I really would like to have more success in this area. And I really don't know how to do it, right? I would like to have less frustration, less upset, and I really don't know how to get rid of it. So sometimes that's just the catalyst, just, those words that you hear from somewhere. And I believe that the more I get out there, the quicker I talk to Vishen, probably, then the opportunity for more people to hear about it and go, yeah, that's my catalyst. I just got my catalyst.
Yeah.
So yeah, either something that rattles you or something that you hear would be my answer.
There we go. Well, awesome, Scott. Is there anything else that you want to chat about before we sign off?
No, I mean, that was amazing. I really appreciate all the really great questions. Yeah, I just hope, people hear it, and we can all just do something together. Not me do something for you. Let's do something together. The kid I'm just taking on now in a new private Power Quest, which is also an option because some kids just want to do it alone. I don't do too many of those, but I do a few. We decided that him and his mom have a great relationship. He's 13. They should do it together. And so she was up and she was willing. Thank goodness she had an open mind. It wasn't just like, oh no, I already know everything. This is for him. She's willing to do it with him. And that meant a lot. To a big smile on his face during the consult, said it all. So that's another option. If parents are always talking about, I can't connect with my kids, they're always doing these things I don't understand. Here you go. Let's connect with your kids. Let's go on a quest. Let's have a power.
Dude, that selling point right there in and of itself is enough to scale across the world. Like literally, you
Let's go.
Every family. So.
I know. I hear you.
Awesome. Well, there we go. Scott, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you. Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you so much, Timmy.
Awesome. Of course. And if you guys are listening to this and you loved what Scott had to say, make sure to reach out to him. The website will be in the show notes. As we always ask, shoot this podcast to 1 to 3 people need to hear this message. Shoot us a 5-star review on iTunes, and we're out.